Thank you very much for the introduction, and thank you for the opportunity to speak with you. We've lost a few minutes, but let me say that I appreciate your asking someone who is not in your industry to come and speak with you, because I will share something about my own little story. One of the things which I've found very useful in my career are the several things I've done across industries. I started as a pharmacist, but I've done consumer goods, I've done broader healthcare, I've done telecoms. My days at MTN was when I was a general manager for consumer marketing there, chief marketing officer of Airtel in the past. Moving to banking, I've crisscrossed banking and telecoms twice. And what that does is that it gives you a lot of context thinking opportunities to see what could be happening in the context of another industry or business that could be relevant to you. And context is one of the very nice ways in which we can appreciate knowledge. So I appreciate your inviting someone who is not in your industry to come and speak to you with you. I also want to confess that because I'm not in your industry, therefore, I only have a very distant view of what you do, even though I continue to be very interested in consumer goods industry where a whole lot of us learned our ropes in marketing. So where I've not touched deeply on FMCG, that's because I'm not in your industry, you know your business better. But what I want to share are the things that are happening outside your industry, are in industries that are being traditionally disrupted by digital technology, and challenge your thinking in terms of how they could apply to you. And we will try and make the presentation very short and leave a lot of room for us to do some question and answer, where I believe that we will have a whole lot of more opportunities for learning. So let's go quickly into the presentation. The title of what I put together, what I do now, or I should mention that, I'm Executive Director of Retail Banking at First City Monument Bank. That's what I do. That's what I do now. That's what I've been doing for the last nearly 8 years or so. So I want to speak with you today on digital disruption of traditional businesses and what we can do about it. For all of us in banking, for the Heinekens of this world, we are what we will call incumbent traditional businesses. For the new digital businesses that are coming today, many of them founded a few years ago. If you follow the market, you will see the valuation of some of these new businesses, some of them just 10 years old. Amazon, for example, is valued at maybe about $400 billion today, much more than the traditional retailers like Walmart and many of them. In fact, many of the old retail industries, some of them have gone down. If you look at the valuation of Tesla as a new disruptive technology today in the electric car business, the valuation of Tesla is much more than the valuation of General Motors and Toyota combined in many instances. And that is telling us something, that we need to learn something wherever capital is moving. The collective wisdom of market is telling us something about where the future is, and it challenges those of us in traditional businesses in terms of what we need to do to ensure that we stay relevant in the context of how our industries and the markets are evolving. The second thing which I will mention is that even though we are in different industries, one of the key things about digital technology is that the boundaries of industries are getting obliterated. Digital is creating a convergence of industries where the traditional boundaries of whether I'm in media or I'm in telecoms or I'm in e-commerce, some of those things are getting foggy. Today, you will have the Amazon, who is a traditional e-commerce player, with the capacity to do financial services, with the capacity to go into entertainment and media. If you follow what Amazon, for example, is on television now, for example. So the traditional boundaries, they are leveraging the concept of platforms. I hope we'll be able to get there and talk about it. The concept of platform is creating a situation in which the boundaries of traditional industries are getting foggy, and therefore we need to completely rethink some of our business models. The kind of competitor that you may have to deal with, that you may have to compete, may not even be the ones that you are traditionally used to. It may have to be someone that is coming from outside your industry, leveraging the power of platforms to compete with you. So those are the kind of things which I hope we can touch very briefly in our conversation. Fushok gave me some outlines, which I'll talk to briefly, but like I said, we'll leave some time for us to engage in terms of question and answers. I'm sure we'll have many more to say around there. So the digital destruction of traditional businesses and what we can do about it. The first thing I'd like to share with you is the concept of transaction cost economics and digital technology, because that is so fundamental to understanding how digital technology is disrupting industry and how it is changing everything that we're doing in business today. One of the most important things that digital technology does is that it has made transaction cost far more efficient. The transaction cost of the economics of transaction costs, economics of doing transactions have become very, 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 very efficient because of digital technology. The things that we used to do at, let's say, $1,000, we can now do them for like $10. And that changes a whole lot of things in terms of the way many industries are shaping today. Well, first and foremost, in terms of how digital technology is changing the transaction cost economics across many industries, and I'm sure will apply to you, even those of you in the hard tangible industries like consumer goods, is that the information search, the cost of searching for information in markets has become very efficient. In those days, when there was no digital technology, if you have a product, you probably need to spend so much money on television, or somebody may even have a good product in Lagos, somebody will know about it in Kano. Today, a product is the cost of searching for information about services and products, about finding buyers and sellers, has become extremely efficient and has extremely become very low cost because of digital technology. Information search is now very, very efficient. And what you see it play in the way markets are evolving is that because of digital, we have a far more efficient matching of buyers and sellers. Now, in terms of looking at economics, markets work when buyers and sellers are matched together. In the old analog market, the cost of finding a buyer and a seller and linking them together can take so many frictions, a lot of frictions. You have to advertise, you have to do many things, you have to find a seller. Then the buyer will have to go to Kano, then he will turn to Maiduguri and come to Calabar before he discovers that the product's in Lagos. Even you, to find a customer, you have to go to Makurdi, then go to Ilorin before you now find a customer is actually somewhere in Jos. The information search efficiency of digital has made it more easy. And that you see a lot in e-commerce today. If you want to buy any product, as complex as many products are, for example, on things like Amazon.com, there are millions of products available and there are millions of people who wants to buy. In a matter of few clicks, the buyer and the seller are matched together. That fundamentally changes the way markets work in terms of bargaining and negotiating contracts. All these things, the cost of those things have become very efficient. Markets are becoming more efficient. The cost of fulfilling products and services when buyers and sellers have been matched together, the cost of negotiating contracts and pricing, everything is very efficient. It can happen in few seconds. You go on the computer or your phone or mobile and you click in a few seconds, buyers and sellers are matched together, they have agreed on a price and click. The transfer is happening in nanoseconds. It is changing the way a whole lot of industries are playing out. These things are happening at fractions of the cost of the old traditional businesses that many of us were trained, where we came from, especially for the service industry that are selling intangible products. So for intangible products, particularly like services, you can even fulfill it remotely. And in your case, for example, in the FMCG, you still need to even manage logistics and transport people. But even that That is changing. If you are doing things like banking today or entertainment, someone sees in Netflix in California, and they are programmed you to sit in your home in Lekki or somewhere, and at the few click of your button, your television, you are watching a movie already that's been programmed in California, right straight to your home. For those of us in trade marketing and distribution, what kind of distribution could that be so efficient that at the click of a button, like at the cost or like the click of a button for your television, you are already there's a wide real-time distribution of media and entertainment and movies across many households, for example. So those are the kind of things that have changed in terms of transaction economics that digital has enabled, and it's changing the way markets are working. The other one, of course, is that markets are also more efficient. Of course, with all the frictions of traditional markets that are going because of digital, markets are more efficient. Information asymmetry. The fact that I have more information about the market than you. Many of us in traditional industries, the reasons why we have done very well is because we have more information than our customers. Therefore, we can dictate the prices. We can dictate prices for them, and the consumers have very limited choices. But information asymmetry that has made markets inefficient. For those of us who also study microeconomics in terms of the way markets work, is that those information asymmetry, the fact that information is not widely available between the power of information between the buyer and the seller is now leveled because of digital. Information can travel at the speed, virtually at the speed of light. And because of that, the power of farms over traditional consumers in terms of bargaining and choice is becoming significantly eroded in many instances. Consumers have now many choices. They are more wide. They are more as widely informed as traditional farms. One of the things, for example, that some of you may notice is that, for example, when you go to your doctors today, many customers today already even know, many patients today already know. They have an idea what is wrong with them. They can even be telling their doctors, doctor, I think it could be this symptom, because he or she has gone on the internet, Googled one or two things like malaria or something. He has seen some symptoms, and he had an idea of what could be wrong. Therefore, the doctor of yesterday and the doctor of today needs to be far much more informed and be at their toes, because the consumers are also having access to some of the knowledge that they used to have, that are given those professionals the authority over the consumers. Same thing with your builder. If you are building a house today, people, you have a view before you meet your architect. This is the power of digital. Information is now widely available. Information asymmetry is gone. The bargaining power of the consumer and the bargaining power of the supplier are becoming more even. With, of course, a lot of consumer-generated feedback online. The customers will tell you, that product, that medicine, or that technology, this is the way it works. Somebody has used it. It doesn't work this way. So that's what we are dealing with in terms of digital technology. So it is creating, but the more fundamental things about it is that it is creating a very low barrier to entry for a lot of new players. Things that we used to do that will cost $1,000, $10,000 today can cost only just $1 to fulfill. So transactional costs are crashing. And because transactional costs are crashing, it is creating a completely set of new transaction cost economics. A new set of players are coming into industries that were protected by costs. And new business models are now being invented, in which people with very little resources can begin to compete with giants and move their cheese, because the cost and interestingly for some of these players, they do not have the legacy costs of operations and technology of the high transactional cost of equipment players. They are fresh, they are green. What you will manufacture for $10,000 or $1,000, the factory you set up, these guys will do it on the internet with the ecosystem. They can do it for $100. Therefore, what it does is that players, whereas you might be looking at Diageo, but the guys who may compete with you may be coming from a completely different direction. And that's the kind of thing that is changing because of the transaction cost economics of digital. I thought we should spend some few times, because if we have an understanding of this concept of how transaction cost has changed fundamentally because of digital, we can begin to build a whole lot of issues on knowledge, of strategy, on top of the understanding of the radical destruction of transactional costs because of digital technology. The second thing I'd like to share with you is that digital creates because of that transactional cost economics that we've talked about, it creates two new types of innovations in industry. One is innovations that are incremental, is more of the same. Innovations that are radically changing efficiencies, operations improvement, cost improvement. That is one. But a more fundamental one is the disruptive innovation. Innovations that are incremental through digital is largely helping traditional industries to improve the efficiencies of their business, which is great. But the bigger one for many of us who are traditional for traditional industry is that disruptive for innovation, which is because of the lower transaction costs or that digital has created. A whole lot of customers or potential customers that we have traditionally ignored. Customers segments that ordinarily when we are doing market segmentation, we say markets do not exist there. Digital allows the unlocking of these previously excluded non-consumption markets through new business models that creates new markets from historically excluded users. If, for example, you look at a company like Uber today, you find out that who will have thought every taxi business is a taxi business in the car park or where you go and board a taxi. But look at what Uber has done is that it has brought together hidden customers and hidden suppliers. Suppliers, everybody that had a car in their home that was doing nothing can now afford to let it out at very low cost, or Airbnb, the people that do hoteling business, can afford to let out the extra one room in their house, which was free, and give it out to someone. And it has brought hidden supply and hidden demand together and has created a completely different market, far bigger than the traditional transportation market. So this is a more disruptive market. It changes everything. It hits traditional industries in the face. It challenges us because we did not know where those kind of things, traditional players do not know where those kind of things are coming from. So new business models are being created because of this transaction cost economics from excluded markets. And what's interesting about these excluded markets is that when they start, the technology that they use by serving those excluded customers, people that we thought that market is not profitable because the cost of serving them, we can't find a way to serve them. But with digital today, you can serve many more people, like in banking, how we imagine that a Netflix will cost 3,500 naira, for example, in terms of entertainment. But it can be done because of the lower transactional cost of digital technology. So a whole lot of markets are now being brought into entertainment, different from the traditional media and entertainment industry. And initially, when it starts, it may look crude, but that technology gets sophisticated and it begins to expand from the bottom, and it begins to cream the business of traditional incumbent players from the bottom. And before you know it, many of your users or your consumers in traditional industries begins to trade down to the destroyed technology from the bottom. So an example of where we have this kind of challenge, for example, will be in banking. The concept of branches and distribution is now changing because of the power of mobile technology on the phone. We have a lot of fresh digital banks across the world today and in Nigeria today. Without the cost structure of traditional banks, they can serve a lot of customers that we in banking will have historically thought were not profitable. We are having very intelligent wealth advisors. So a lot of things that we will do where you have to hire a Stanford MBA graduate to become a wealth advisor can be done by artificial intelligence, for example, which takes out a lot of traditional models of doing business. It means that you don't need to hire 15 Harvard graduates to do, for example, wealth management, if you have intelligent artificial intelligence technology, for example. So it is allowing a lot of new kind of players to come into things like, for example, wealth management, for example. Chatbots, for example, for customer services, you don't need so many people in the call center, and the potential to reach millions of traditionally excluded customers. And we've talked about media and entertainment. Many of you will go on the internet today. You see all these Face TV Africa, all of them. The concept of the television. Everybody can be a TV today. You start with your content, YouTube, your camera. you put it on YouTube, and you're running your TV on your own. So the concept of a TV today, you don't need to have a billions of naira to become a TV station. You can become a TV station on the internet. You can become a radio station on the internet. These are the kind of things that is happening in terms of digital disruption. So why is this issue particularly important to Nigeria? It's particularly important to us in Nigeria because we have an increasingly poorer population, and the statistics are there for us to see in terms of what the World Bank has said in terms of the number of people who are sinking to poverty in Nigeria, for example, at this time. We have an increasingly poorer population, a decimated middle class. And one big thing for all of us, whether from banking to consumer goods industry to healthcare, to all of us, that confronts us today as Nigerians, is that our former commercial markets likely serves maybe probably just 50% of our population, from financial services to housing to transportation to health. And I'm sure that if we ask you, I do not have the statistics of the consumer goods industry, but I'm sure if we ask you that what percentage of the Nigerian population patronizes the products of Nigerian breweries, Heinekens, and your competitors, you probably will say that 50% of the Nigerian population are excluded from your market. Therefore, there's a very big question of shared responsibility for all of us. There's a very big question of shared responsibility for all of us. How do we build commercial organizations? How do we get our commercial organizations to be more relevant to the needs of Nigerian people and provide goods and services for more people profitably and sustainably? Because if all of us, the business that we're all doing, those of us who are elites in Lagos and all of us in Kano, that 50% of the Nigerian population are irrelevant to us, it's a very big responsibility question for business. And that's how some of these issues of data is linked. It's also linked to how we can be more relevant and touch many more lives in terms of the services that we provide in commercial organizations. Now, looking at FMCG from a distance, some of the things I see from a distance, for example, in terms of digital disruption, is that we have seen, of course, the evolution of e-commerce. Retailing is radically changing. Inbound and outbound logistics and supply chain efficiencies and innovations through digital technology is changing rapidly. It's changing what you do in FMCG. The ecosystem, we are using a whole of things like geolocation. New type of partners and players are evolving, and the elimination of some of the traditional players in terms of your supply chain logistics. And one of the big questions you need to ask in terms of the consumer goods industry is that who is innovating in your distribution ecosystem with the potential to disrupt you in terms of route to market and beyond? Let me repeat that. Who is innovating in the distribution ecosystem with the potential to disrupt you in consumer goods industry in terms of route to market and beyond? Given the challenge of a poorer population in Nigeria, affordability and cost-effective to market is very critical. And therefore, someone that is innovating using digital technology may find the potential to disrupt route to market consistently and disruptively if you are not part of that disruption yourself. So we go now to retention of customers in Nigeria. I'm just speaking to a couple of issues that Funsho wanted me to speak to. Retention of customers in Nigeria, comparing service industry and FMCG. What I want to share with you is that when we look at my previous life in consumer goods industry or the hard tangible industry and now, there's a practice we can learn better from the service industry for FMCG. In the sense that it's the nature of our industry in FMCG, because we do not know the identity of the customer. The customer buys from a retail shop or buys a beer in a pub, and we don't know who they are. Maybe once in a while we can do some brand survey or stuff. We don't know who they are. Or like, for example, the service industry, if you're a bank customer or if you're a customer of Netflix, you have a unique identity. They know what I do. They can track my behavior. My behavior, my history can be used to predict what I would do to cross-sell, to sell products and services to me. And it can be used they can track those things with digital technology, with AI, artificial intelligence, to provide targeted context propositions to me based on who am I, where am I, for example, my geolocation, what am I doing, what kind of service can be offered to me. So there's a nice triangulation of who, where, and when that digital enables in service industry. One of the things I would like to challenge you in consumer goods industry is that how can we bring some of the behavioral analytics at individual consumer level at FMC, how can we, at service industry, how can we adapt to some of the things that we do in terms of the hard tangible industry of consumer goods industry? And one or two, there's important developments. I mean, the modern trade are doing this very well now across the world, and they are like even people like Ebano are doing that now with things like loyalty cards. Now that they know you when you come to the store, they know you as an individual, they know what you buy, they know the frequency of what you buy. The potentials to use those behavior to sell more products to you, to give you more propositions is now much better. And we need to run faster. Now, balancing on and off trade, the omnichannel concept. One of the things from digital industries is what they call the concept of omnichannel. The concept of omnichannel is that at the end of the day, all channels are one. It does not matter at the touch point in which the customer is being exposed to your product and services. Because of the power of data and its analytics, there is a continuous view of the customer as they move from one touch point of service or product to the other. So, for example, if you have a Google, if you see what Google does with, for example, YouTube, if you are browsing, if you are watching a movie or something or a video clip on your phone, and you come back to your desk and you go back to YouTube, even though they are two completely different devices, because it knows you by your individual identity, it will continue. It will be completely seamless. It will expose the same thing that you are watching on your mobile to you. That's the concept of omnichannel. One of the things is that how could this, for example, the concept of omnichannel, which creates good user experience, how could it apply, for example, to what is done in the consumer goods industry? Then there's also what we call the concept of combination of physical and digital, how they complement themselves. For example, in banking, we have branches and we have our mobile, our digital channels. They must all complement themselves. Really, the customer must have a seamless experience. If a customer goes to a branch and he goes to their mobile, well, there should be a way in which we should be able to see continuously what the customer is doing at every point when the customer is touching our service. So, and there's something they call digital, which is assisted digital. We have seen that work a lot for us, for example, where if you assist customers to do some digital transactions that in the initial period they may not be comfortable for them, so many of them will adopt digital. So a combination of physical and digital can create a lot of complements, apart from the overall issue of making the design of digital channels intuitive so that we don't even need to be there to assist the customers. So that's the concept of omnichannel. How can the concept of omnichannel apply to what you do in the consumer goods industry, for example, especially in trade marketing? Then we talk briefly about unlocking growth with customer lifetime value. And I do not want to complicate this, but I have a nice, very simple way in which I explain customer value management, customer lifetime value, so that it's so very easy to appreciate. Everyone should see themselves as a retail store manager. Imagine you own a retail store or you run the business of a retail store. What's your objective? How do you maximize revenue? As a retail store manager, the first objective is to get millions of customers into your store and to keep them coming back every day to come and shop. When you get millions of them to come to your store every day, you want to get them to buy as many products as possible and use as many products as they can. Essentially, when they are pushing their shopping trolley to your till point, you want to make sure that that shopping basket is full. So the first one in terms of getting customers to your store is what they call acquisition in terms of customer value management. And you want to maximize it as much as possible. This other one in terms of getting the shopping basket full is what we call cross-selling of products. Get them to buy as many products as possible. Then you want to get those people who are coming to your store to buy products where your margins of profit are higher, and they should buy it more at a higher frequency. That would be upselling, what we call upselling customer value management. And of course, the next one is that if they keep coming back every day, you want them to keep coming back every day for life and bring their wife, bring their children to come and shop in your store. That is what we call loyalty program. If we do all these things, we have revenue maximization, which is some of the art that the service industry, for example, are perfected historically. And to do this, back to the issue of knowing the customer uniquely as an identity. Data and customer identity is the beginning and the foundation of customer lifetime value management. consumer goods industry, because of the way it evolved, nature of that industry, tend not to know their customers at individual level. How can you innovate around these things? Because if you can do that, you are going to have a powerful tool in your hand in terms of proposition development and context marketing to your customers. So rounding up, what traditional businesses can do given digital disruption? The first thing is you need to have an ecosystem partnership view of your business. What does an ecosystem view of your customer tell you beyond just your product or service? Whether you are doing premium, middle, or mass market, what innovation opportunities does that present? An ecosystem includes things like, it's not just about whether I want to consume a beer. Does the fact that I know the location of the place using Google Map, where this customer is taking his beer or a beer every 2 days, does it matter in how I innovate or in the proposition that I develop? That's a combination of my products plus what is available in the ecosystem to do innovation. So, because that is not the traditional way we are wired, we also have to be speaking ecosystem language in our traditional industry, even in our consumer goods industry. And the opportunity for us to see also potential for innovation from trade market to channel to market propositions, brand propositions is huge, enormous. By the time you see partnership and cross-partnership opportunities with different players in the ecosystem, you begin to build something, a layer of different intangibles around your products that differentiates you from your competitors. The second thing is that we must become more data-driven in sales and marketing. We must be able to triangulate internal data and ecosystem data for stronger insights. If you have a geolocation like I was describing, a geolocation where the customers are, which you have the exact geolocation from your Google mapping, then you have third-party proxy data from what they consume, maybe from their telephone, it may be from what you pick up on online, for example, in terms of where they are going, where they are searching on Facebook, for example. If I combine that with what I get, for example, in terms of e-commerce and information on modern trade, in terms of their own loyalty programs, what opportunities does that give me in terms of unlocking unique market insights? Then the next one, of course, is platformization and community opportunities. The opportunity for you to become a platform. Everyone can become a platform. Who says you cannot have your own app and create your own community around your business? So, and because of the opportunity for you to become a community, even for traditional hard tangible industry, is there because everybody can have a digital orientation. Then you got to be agile and flexible to tackle institutional rigidity. We are compared to those nimble digital companies. For us to take a decision, it can take forever. Digital, if you are going to be competing with agile and flexible players, all of us from our traditional industries, we have to be more agile, we have to be more flexible. We have to have modular, flat organization that enables us to respond to the needs of the market in a jiffy. We should not be developing a product and initiative forever before we get to the market. That is what digital orientation, the concept of digital implies. Yeah, and how can we make that happen? To make that happen, it means that we need to have fundamental cultural change. How we organize, how we take decisions, how we empower people needs to change fundamentally. We have to leverage digital technologies for operational excellence. And we need to have an outside view, a fresh lens of our business. We have to think like challengers. Like we have to tell ourselves that if we were to start this business today with innovation in the ecosystem, what will we do compared to what we are doing now? That's the kind of questions we have to ask ourselves. Given what we know today, given what's available in the ecosystem today, if we have to start this business, how we would do it, how we organize our channel, our marketing, our business operations today compared to what we're doing now, and what's the path to connecting both together. Then number 3 is that, about 6 or 7 is that innovation will find a model. Someone will find a model for markets you exclude or that you think they are not profitable. Therefore, somebody's coming to eat your cake. Therefore, you have to innovate and attack yourself. So thank you. That's my presentation. If you want to hear more about some of these things, I have them on my podcast, Release 5 podcast, from customer lifetime value to brands to all sorts of issues in leadership. You find that on my podcast. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. I acknowledge Sheu's question that issue of cultural change is a hard one, and we're all struggling with it. We will not be a traditional business if it's something that we can do so easily. So the kind of struggles which you have is also what any kind of traditional industries will have. One of the big things is that the mindset of leaders and all of us who are leaders are so fundamental. A lot of the things in digital needs things like experimental. You need to be able to do experiment. Some of those things you have to do one or two things to get it right. You have to experiment A, B, or C to discover D. And under the typical kind of pressures that we have and performance management, for example, there's no room for you to experiment. Yet, if you don't experiment, you cannot find new ways. So it becomes, so I would say, an area where we are working on is trying to align performance management with the kind of new, innovative, experimental mindset that we need to have for us to digitally transform. And I will recommend the same thing to you, because if performance management is not in tandem with digital transformation, it will not happen at the end of the day. And so that's where I will leave that question. Like I said, I do not know your industry, but I do know that anyone who finds a way, even if you do not have the data at individual consumer level, there must be some way in which, by combining different data from what your shoppers are doing, from what you can build from an ecosystem, you can begin to see something different. I think in the consumer goods industry, you have to do a lot of, even all of us, we have to do a lot of more triangulation of different data that we can get internally, externally, and bring them together. And even like you, it's not just about health services industry people getting AI, artificial intelligence people. Also get real data scientists to bring out insights. You'll be surprised. I think we'll all be surprised by the kind of insights that can be brought together, that can be drawn out of different combinations of data that you have from sales to marketing, from geolocation, from shoppers, from your research, from the loyalty cards of your modern trade. I think that's what I would recommend in terms of insight. But the more data you have, definitely the far superior marketing that you are going to be doing. I got it. Whether we are ready for digital in Africa, whether we are sophisticated enough, I think that's the question. And whether digital is creating more unemployment or something like that. I would say we are ready for digital in Africa. When ATMs came, you used to be like, how would anybody use an ATM? But today, anybody can use an ATM. Don't underestimate the intelligence of our people. Today, everybody can use a phone. And so the number of people, as many people who can use a phone can do digital. So don't be surprised. Today, in a place like Kenya with M-Pesa, everybody is using M-Pesa. They are paying with a key. So I think the issue is to design. Let me agree that you need to make sure you design technology intuitively for anyone to understand how to use it. Yes, so that will be a task of technology people, digital people. But please let's not say Africa, we are not sophisticated. We have 100 million phone numbers in Nigeria today. Many years ago, when we first had your mobile phone, you have to call, you have to think, what do I press? No, anybody who can have a phone today can use a digital. So please, I think let's orient ourselves towards it. Africa is not sophisticated for digital. And in terms of job creation, for every job that digital eliminates, it creates new ones. It creates 5 new ones in other places. So I think that's the way to see it. So 1 or 2 jobs may be eliminated, but people should just have to go and learn new skills that will make them relevant in new contexts. So that's but nobody say, the technology took me out. No, learn new skills that will make you relevant in the context of where technology is going. In terms of security of digital, is a valid concern. But what I would say is that as technology itself is developing, so is also the security of it. I do not think we have any reason to worry about both on the regulator side and in terms of the players themselves. A lot has been invested in improving the security of information on digital so that the data of customers are protected and from abuse and fraud. So to ensure, especially to continuously ensure that there's confidence in using digital platforms. The issue of protecting our startups, I think the Nigeria ecosystem is developing. We have a vibrant investor venture capital community in Nigeria today, which are also globally linked. I think players are startups. We have examples of startups that have started from Nigeria and they're now going across Africa. And they were supported primarily from Nigeria before other investors came. So I think the ecosystem in Nigeria is growing, is developing very well, both in terms of nurturing and protecting the smart young entrepreneurs in digital technology that we have today. And I don't think, again, there's anything for us to worry about while we continue to learn in terms of nurturing our talents from what has happened in more advanced ecosystems. Data is an enabler. You got to get your strategy right. Digital can be an enabler of your strategy. The strategy ultimately is about market opportunities, advantages, and differentiation, and your capability to exploit that opportunity more than anyone else. In that capability is where digital is. If it enables you to see new market opportunities with new cost to serve models, that's one. If it enables you to have the capability to serve markets that are excluded or provide new type of services and new type of innovations to unlock new market opportunities, that is it. But it is not a conversation that it is not a replacement, like you have said, for strategy. Digital is only an enabler. Therefore, if you do not have a good strategy, your digital, you may actually be doing completely wrong things. If you are doing your digital, you may actually be, there are things you can do in digital that may be actually destroying value. If you are not targeting the right market, you don't have the right propositions, you are not even extracting the right insights. You cannot even read your data well. So you said it very well, and I agree. That's interesting. So what's the question? Marketing myopia and innovation. That's because marketing myopia, everyone must think about the bigger purpose of their business or their product rather than the product itself. Because someone else who has a bigger purpose will see new ways beyond the current type of product to solve that problem. You can extrapolate that into what is called design thinking, where rather than thinking product, people in digital today will talk of customer problems. And when you say customer problems, they bring what they also call first principles, which is that if this is a problem and we have to solve it, and we are completely new to what is happening, how will we solve it from fresh principle without any inhibition of legacy? And sometimes you find out that they come with a completely different product at completely radical cost economics, and they open a market that people will think had not existed. So those traditional strategies in marketing and digital, first principle, marketing myopia, running a business with a purpose, they are all linked in different ways in terms of running a good digital business in the current context of where our industries are going. You can't be short-term in your thinking. If digital needs investments, because it's different from our legacy capabilities and assets. And you cannot do those investments and expect everything to pay for itself in 2 months or in a quarter. So the problem with the way we think in traditional industry is that because we have to report the stock market, we have quarter performance and quarter board meetings, everything must work within 3 months. When we do that, the problem is that we end up not doing any digital innovations because the numbers won't add up in 3 months. But you take a long-term view of your investment, and you recognize that as long as your unit economics in terms of are you covering your variable cost, if the cost of serving a new customer for example, $2, and this customer that I'm acquiring will give me $2.5, the customer is giving me a net positive margin of $0.5. As I scale and have many more customers, and I have 1 million more customers, I'm going to have $500,000. That will be the way to look at the economics and the financial and the business case of digital, not to say everything must be profitable in 3 months, the way we used to do in an incremental legacy business. So that will be the way to manage it. But it does not mean, of course, you not pay attention to your unit economics. Your unit economics matter. But it's also not about thinking short term in terms of digital technology, digital transformation.